Alright guys, so this is the Unit 2 review for equations. This is the exact review that we did in class. I'm just going to go over it again, so as you look through it, if you forgot how to do the process and just looking at it isn't doing it for you, this should help you out a little bit. Okay, so for questions number 1 and 2, remember I told you did not have to do anything with the properties. Okay, all I wanted you to do was evaluate each step. We will do this later. Okay, so remember we have parentheses and then exponents, and then we multiply and divide from left to right, and then we add and subtract from left to right. Okay, so for number 1, I see I have parentheses, so we're going to work within the parentheses first. So within the parentheses, I see I have exponents, so let's do those first. So 3 squared is 9. Next, let's finish off those parentheses, so my final answer will be 7. Okay, same thing with this one. Now again, I know you guys would look at this and probably think, ooh, let me distribute this 5. Remember, we are evaluating expressions, not solving equations. So you could distribute, but you're just making your life a little bit harder. And before you distributed, you would have to do 12 divided by 3 in order for this to work. Okay, so before we touch this 6 times 1/6, let's work within these parentheses. So 12 divided by 3 is 4. So we'll carry down that minus 3. Keep carrying this down, just focus on the parentheses. So 4 minus 3 is 1. And then we'll multiply and divide from left to right. We only have multiplying, so 1/6 of 6 is 1 plus 5, so we get 6. Alright, let's go on to solving equations. So remember I told you guys you can, in order to do the check, you can use your calculator if you need to. Okay, so by all means, if you need to use your calculator, go ahead. Alright, so let's think of our, remember we did don't call me after midnight. So if we had parentheses, then you will distribute, and then combine like terms, etc. So I only have a variable on one side, so when you do that, we can just move so add or subtract your constants. We have a negative 28, so we'll add 28 to both sides. So we'll get 40 is equal to negative 5f. The negative 5 and the f are being multiplied, so let's divide in order to undo that. So our final answer would be negative 8. So again, if we just look back here, so negative 8 times negative 5 would be 40, minus 28 would be 12. Okay. Next one, so whenever you have a fraction like this, you need to isolate it first. Okay, so we're going to subtract this 2. So I'm going to get negative 6. Okay, so I'm going to get negative 5, and that will be equal to y over 13. So you could, if you wanted to, put negative 5 over 1 and cross multiply. Otherwise, you can, sorry, my little thing is going crazy. Otherwise, you can just multiply both sides by 13. So let's go ahead and do that. And then you should get, so multiply by 13, that cancels, multiply by 13. So that would cancel, and we'll get y equals negative 65. Again, you can do a simple check just to make sure. Okay, now we have our wonderful variables on both sides, and we have parentheses, so let's go ahead and distribute. So 5 plus 10n plus 2 is equal to 3n. So 10n plus 7 is equal to 3n, so I combined like terms. Now I am going to, I don't know how I got a 10n. Losing it too late, obviously. Okay. Let's get rid of this real quick. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. So it should be a 2n plus 2. So we will get 2n plus 7 when I combine like terms. Subtract your 2n over, so n is equal to 7. Okay. Similar problem right here. Let's distribute that 5. So we get 7x plus 5x minus 5. And that's all going to be equal to negative 5 plus 12x. So let's keep simplifying. So we get 12x minus 5 is equal to negative 5 plus 12. If you are not noticing yet, 12x. If you are not noticing yet, those are identical. So we're getting to a special scenario. So this says negative 5 is equal to negative 5. You also could have added 5 to both sides and got 12x is equal to 12x. All this means is that the solution is all real numbers. All real numbers. Okay. Sorry, technology is just not having it with me today. It doesn't want me. Okay, all real numbers. Okay, so all real numbers, that is what we are looking for. Okay, remember, if it equals two different things on each side, that cannot happen, so the answer would be no solution. Okay, and the last one, we have our two ratios we want to solve as well. So when we have two ratios that are set equal to each other, also called a proportion, we're going to cross multiply to solve these. So we're going to get 1 and 66 thousandths is equal to 67 and 55 hundredths. Divide both sides. Alright, don't forget what I said in class. Please make sure to circle or do something to these directions, just so you guys don't forget to round to the right thing. Okay, so it says to the nearest hundredth, so that would be 3, 7. 63 and 37 hundredths. Alright, let's do it again. This one's a little bit trickier. So we're going to do 9 times 5b plus 5. Remember, whenever you see these, just slap some parentheses around them first so you don't forget. Okay? I noticed a lot of you on the quiz that we took when we practiced these, that you were making that mistake, so please just be careful. Okay, so all I'm doing is distributing in. Move your decimal, move your variable. Negative 18 plus 45, negative 18b plus 45 is equal to negative 9 minus 45. So negative 18b is equal to negative 54. This is not negative. Sorry, guys. Okay. So let me just zip this over here. So 18b would be equal to negative 54. So divide by 18, divide by 18. Let me make both negative here. So b is equal to negative 3. Okay, next question. Alright, literal equations. Who doesn't love these? Okay, so for our literal equations, remember you guys are going to circle. Just having a real grand old time here. Okay, you guys are going to circle the variable that we are solving for. Okay, this is not going to work, so you guys are going to have to deal with my hand being in here. Okay. Alright, so we are going to circle the variable. Move that out of the way. Okay. Next, we are going to isolate we get 10x is equal to negative 2z minus y. Okay, divide both sides by 10. So x is equal to negative 2z minus y over 10. Or you could simplify that. Negative 2 divided by 10z on this side would be negative 1/5 z. And then on this side would be minus y over z. Or you could write 1/10. Okay, either of those would be acceptable. Okay. Similarly for number 12, we're solving for m. Okay, so let's add n. Okay, we need to isolate that m from anything. Okay, so we get p plus n. And then let's multiply by the reciprocal to get that m by itself. So m is equal to, so you can either leave it like this or you can distribute it in. I'm just going to leave it like this. So okay. All right, next one. Sorry, these little dots are bothering me. I'm sure they often do. Okay, next one. Convert 12.5 yards to feet. So the first thing I notice is that 1 yard equals 3 feet. Okay, so that works for both of them. So next thing we're going to do is we are just going to write a proportion and convert. Okay, so I'm going to do yards over feet. So 1 over 3 is equal to 12.5 over x. Cross multiply, and you should get 37.5 feet. 37.5 feet. Okay. Moving to the next one. Again, we'll use the same units. So 1 yard equals 3 feet. Feet are on the bottom, so let's keep that there. X on top. Okay. So after we cross multiply, we have to divide. So x should equal 331 yards. Okay, let's go so much faster. I should have just done this in the beginning. Sorry, guys. Just didn't want you to have to look at my hand the entire time, but what are you gonna do? Okay, next one. So for this one we have 3 consecutive integers. So remember we have our first, second, and third. So I see that there are 3 and I see that they are odd. If they are odd, make sure that you go every other one. So x plus 2, x plus 4. And then we are finding the sum, so let's add them up. Now remember, because they're all positive, the parentheses don't really matter, but I really want you guys to get into the habit of putting the parentheses around those quantities in case you need to distribute your negatives. Okay, so I see that there are 3 x's, so I get 3x plus 6 is equal to 87. Okay, I'll get rid of that 6, so 3x is equal to 81. Divide both sides by 3, so x is equal to 27. Okay, so the numbers are 27, 29, and 31. Okay, next one. Again, this one only says find the number, so we know we're going to just have 1. Okay, so 14 less than. Remember, when you see that less than, make sure you draw your arrow so you remember. So 3/4 of a number minus 14 is equal to negative 8. Let's add 14 to both sides. Okay, when I rewrite this, I'm actually going to rewrite this as 75 hundredths x. Okay, it'll just be easier for you guys, and you can put it right in your calculator if you need to. Okay, over 6. is equal to 6. Let's divide both sides by 75 hundredths, which means the number is 8. Okay, I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, in class we skipped this, so I will now as well. If you want to do it and come in and have it checked, I will totes do that. Yeah, you guys like when I say totes. Okay, number 18. Okay, we are still on the first review. Okay. Okay, it takes 8 minutes for Hannah to walk around the track twice. At this rate, how many times can she walk around? A half hour. So the first thing I'm going to do, I see that this says minutes, so I'm going to, a half hour is equal to 30 minutes, so let's write that down. Okay, and I want to know how many times. So it says that, so we'll do laps over minutes, and we'll set up a proportion. Okay, so she can do 2 laps in 8 minutes. So we want to know how many can she do in 30. So cross multiply, divide. So x is equal to, so she should be able to do 7.5 laps. Wow. Okay. Next question, we have to find the value of x so that both of these have the same perimeter. Okay, so add all sides and set equal. Okay, so we have 5 plus x minus 5 plus x, can't see it, plus x minus 4. That is all equal to 10 plus 16 plus x minus 10. Okay, let's combine like terms. Remember, when we are combining like terms on one side, we combine like terms on one side. So that means that we are not changing the sign of them. Okay, we are just combining like terms. So we have an x and an x, so we get 2x. We have 5 minus 5, which is 0, minus 4, so minus 4 is where we're at. Okay, only have 1x on this side. And then I have 10 plus 16, which is 26, minus 10, which is just 16. Let's move our variables and then add our constant. So x must be 20. Okay, that was number 1. Let's just keep rolling. Okay, so again, for these, we are not going to do our properties. Okay, so let's just get started. So again, first I'm going to change this to a 0.75. Sorry, trying to write so you guys can see. Okay, so 8 is going to be divided by, I have 10 minus 7, which is 3. So what I did here is, you can either do all of these like this, or what you can do, and this is my fault, sorry, I actually didn't change this before. I kept this as a 3/4, and you'll see why in a second. So then what I did was I rewrote the 8 divided by 3 as a fraction, okay, and then I simplified it that way. So we multiply across, okay, so 24/12, which equals 2. Okay, with this one, remember, do inside the parentheses first. So I'm going to do 6 times 1, which is 6, minus 4 plus 2 times 1/2. 3 times 2 plus 2 times 1/2. I'll get a 6 here and a 1 here, so my final answer is 7. Okay, again, you can use your calculator to plug everything in and just to check. So 5, I don't know why I'm doing that. Okay, let's add 7 to both sides. So 5 halves x is equal to 20. You could either change this so that it is 2.5, or remember, to get rid of a fraction, we multiply by its reciprocal. So whatever we do to one side, do to the other. So x is equal to, if you want to do it this way, we would get 40 over 5, which is just 8. Okay, moving over here, I told you guys, put a 1, and you can cross multiply. Otherwise, you would have to multiply by 3. So I'm going to do it this way. So I get x plus 4 is equal to 36. Subtract 4, x equals 32. Okay, remember this is just a chapter that's all on equations. So just solving equations, evaluating equations, literal equations, all that good stuff. Be careful when we get to here. Make sure you distribute that negative, not just the 2. We're doing a negative 2, so we get a negative 6. Okay, so 14v. Now I'm going to combine like terms on each side. So I'm going to get a negative 2v minus 2. I'm going to add 2v. So 16v plus 6 is equal to negative 2. Subtract 6. Negative 8. So v is going to be equal to negative 1/2. So the lights keep going off because I'm sitting at my desk doing these. And it's kind of late, so it's super creepy. I'm just going to distribute here. But the lights keep going off because I'm sitting at my desk and nobody else is here. So I guess I should be happy that they're going off, not. Okay, so I'm going to move my variables, and oh no, what has happened? Negative 30 is equal to 20. Nope, never. So what do we write? No solution. So remember in review 1 we had one where they equaled each other, both sides. So we said all real numbers. But when it is not, we say no solution. Okay? Let's cross multiply here. This is a one-step equation. Be careful. It does say to round to the nearest hundredth, so you can't just write 5.2 because it was 5.9 and need to round up. So make sure that you write 5.20. Now it does say if necessary, so keep that in mind when we do this next one. Okay, so we're going to cross multiply. Again, make sure when you see those you put parentheses around it. So I'm going to get 10. 4v plus 7 is equal to 15 times 6v plus 2. So I get 40v plus 7d. This is 90v plus 30. Let's move these over. 70 is equal to 50v plus 30. Okay. It is so quiet here. Nobody's at school. Super creepy. Okay, so that ends up being a terminating decimal, so you can just leave it like that because we didn't actually have to round. Okay? So if you don't actually have to round, you do not have to keep going. Okay, almost done. Alright, so literal equations. Remember, anytime there are more than one variable, multiple variables, when they don't give you anything, means you have to keep all the variables in there. You're just moving everything around, rearranging it. Okay, so I'm going to subtract c. So I get a minus c is equal to 2/3 b. I'm going to multiply that reciprocal, multiply by the reciprocal to get rid of it. Okay, so 3/2. I'm actually just going to leave it like that. 3/2 and then parentheses a minus c. Again, if you wanted to distribute that, I would be happy with that. Right here, we have a nice little volume problem. Let's divide by LW. So H is just going to be V over LW. Remember, we would need to use these if, let's say, they gave us the volume, the length, and the width, and we need to find the height. It just makes it a little bit easier for you. Okay, conversions. So for this one, we need to know that 16 ounces is equal to 1 pound. Okay, so I'm going to start both of these as 16 over 1. Make sure you remember ounces are on the top, pounds are on the bottom. Okay, don't forget to keep that for yourself. Okay, so 16 over 1, I have ounces, and I need pounds. I don't need pounds. I would rather not have any extra pounds, but you know. I know you guys don't think I'm funny, just I'm lonely over here. Okay, so 19.9 pounds. So that is our solution. Let's do it again over here, but now they gave us pounds. I'm still going to do 16 over 1, but now my x is going to be on the top because, again, I don't have ounces. So I get 125. Okay, so x is equal to 2,000 ounces. Ugh. Glad we don't go by ounces for our weight. That would be awful. All right, let's do some consecutive integers. So we got a first, second, and third. It says 3, and then it just says consecutive. So we're not going to skip this time. We're just going to do x plus 1, x plus 2. We need the sum again, and it's going to equal negative 141. So x plus 1 plus x plus 2 equals negative 141. Okay, so let's add all these together. So I get 3x plus 3 is equal to negative 141. Subtract 3. So negative 144. So x is equal to negative 48. Lastly, don't forget to answer the question. Write and solve. So the numbers are negative 48, negative 47, I feel like I'm on a lotto thing, and negative 46. The numbers are. Okay? Okay, one more of those. Similar. Okay, this one we're just finding a number, just one number. So 17 is 13 subtracted from 6 times a number. Oh, probably should read it first before. Read it all the way through. Okay, so subtracted from means, again, we're going to switch the order. Okay, so 17 is 6x minus 13. Again, it doesn't tell you what the I guess. It doesn't tell you what the variable is, so you can use whatever variable you want. So x equals 5, so the number is 5. Okay, number is 5. Okay, so we did skip this one in class. I think one of the classes we went over it. But all they want to know is when will these be equal to each other. So it says we're starting with these numbers, but each year this is being added. So all I'm going to do is slap an x on it, okay? And x represents each year. Okay, there won't be one of these on the test, but that's not to say it won't be on the regions and we won't ever do it. So I did want to still go over this one. So the first thing we would do is we would create our two expressions, and then we would set them equal to each other. So our first expression is going to be 325x plus 3,765. And that should be equal to 292x plus 3,842. So let's move our variables over to the same side. Again, we're trying to figure out after what year would these subscriptions for this magazine, because, you know, people still subscribe to magazines apparently. I know, odd thing. I mean, I don't. I think it's a waste of paper. You could just look on the internet. But, you know, some people like to just hold one in their hand. Okay, so this would be about, so it says 2.3 repeating, so after 2 1/3 years. they would be the same number of subscriptions. Okay, 2 more. All right, 5 times the sum of so 5 times the sum. Okay, remember that means parentheses. So 5 times the sum of 4 plus y, and that should be equal to 3y. Don't forget to distribute. 20 plus 5y equals 3y. Okay. We've been at school for about 12 hours now. So if I sound a little loopy, it's because I've been here for 12 hours. All right. Last one. Oh, I thought I'd make it under 30 minutes, but I didn't. See, if I just did this from the beginning, this would have been a 20-minute video. All right, so on a map, this is a great ratio question for scales, and it's kind of applicable too. I know we would probably just put them in our calculator, or put them in our GPS, find our way that way, but okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is inches over miles. I like to put that on the side of my paper before I write my proportion. So I'm going to do 1 over 50. It says how far apart, so already I know my x has to be on the bottom because miles are on the bottom. But also they gave me 20 inches, so, you know. Alright, so x is equal to 50 times 20, which is 1,000. So, Pennsylvania and Madison, Wisconsin are 1,000 miles apart. I would like to know if that's true, so I'm probably going to look that up later. Okay, so if you study all of this, again, remember yours was a green sheet. Okay, this was your green sheet. So if you study all of these, I promise you, you guys should do wonderfully. Okay, so please study. All right. If you have any more questions, just let me know.